Differentiated instruction. What is differentiated instruction? How does differentiation affect the role of a teacher? We can define differentiation as a type of instruction that tries to create a variety of options for learners. The core theory guiding differentiation is that each child is unique and has their own level of readiness, interests, and learning preferences. As such, the teaching and learning process should cater for the individual learning needs of students through well-structured instruction. In order to lay the groundwork for differentiation, we first have to identify what our students need to know, what they need to be able to do, and what they need to understand in order for them to be successful in today's world. In differentiation, the focus is redirected from the teacher and traditional instruction to the learning needs of the student, which requires us to rethink the role of the teacher in the teaching process. In a differentiated classroom, you, as an educator, are more like a facilitator who provides a variety of differentiated learning experiences to all students. Where to start? To make sure your differentiated instruction is effective, you, as a teacher, might want to start by assessing your students. Find out their interests, identify their preferred learning styles, visual, audio, or kinesthetic, and determine their English proficiency and skills. Assessing your students is possible in any of these ways: teacher observation, focused talks and discussion, diagnostic tests, student profiles, self-assessment and surveys, teacher-parent conferences, or samples of the student's work. When conducting the student assessment, keep the following guidelines in mind. Do I have students whose learning needs are not being addressed in the classroom? How can I address the needs of those learners who already have some understanding of the material to be taught or who tend to learn at a faster pace? What can we differentiate? Differentiated instruction can happen in 4 ways. By differentiating the learning environment to make it more supportive of learning. By differentiating the content of what you want your students to learn. By differentiating the process of how your students learn to make sense of the concepts. By differentiating the product, that is, how students demonstrate what they have learned, understood, or can apply. Differentiating the learning environment. A well-organized classroom contributes to differentiation. These points can help you prepare your classroom for differentiated instruction. Organize the classroom, physical setup, so that it lets you be flexible with your grouping, pairs, groups, learning stations, and mingles. Yet it fosters focused, independent work as well. Change up lesson delivery to include whole class, pair work, small group, and individual activities as well. Set up your procedures early in the year. You might want to teach your students how to organize and rearrange the furniture for group work themselves. Agree on and communicate the rules for effective pair or group work beforehand. Things like active listening, turn taking, and acknowledging input from others. Mark where in the classroom the students are going to do group work and independent study. If there is enough space, you might even want every student to have their own desk or space where they can come back to for whole class activities. Make a variety of learning materials, visual aids, audio resources, books, puzzles, and so on, readily available for the students. Differentiating the content. We all know that the lesson content is supposed to follow the standards of teaching set by the government. However, we, as teachers, still have some wiggle room to diversify teaching content to meet the individual learning needs of our students. Content differentiation can include the following: providing more or less complex reading materials, reteaching concepts to small groups of students you see struggling to understand, encouraging students to process content at various levels of Bloom's taxonomy, remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating to match the varied readiness levels of your students. Differentiating the process. When differentiating the process, your teaching should be guided by the assumption that each student makes sense of the same concepts according to their readiness levels, interests, and learning styles, so the learning activities will have to vary. You may want to try out some of these strategies to differentiate the process. Using audio and visual methods to present concepts, introducing concepts through tasks that allow students to learn by doing, and incorporate realia if you can. Using tiered activities where all learners can work on building the same understanding and skills, but progress with different levels of support, challenge, or complexity. Trying out learning centers that will allow your students to explore various aspects of class topics that interest them. Varying the length of time a student may take to complete a task and providing support as needed. Grouping students flexibly according to the content, students' ability, and their interests. Differentiating the product. The product is what a student creates at the end of the lesson to demonstrate mastery of the concept. A video, report, test, brochure, puppet show, speech, performance, or something similar. By letting students choose a variety of ways to demonstrate their knowledge, we offer them a choice, making them feel like they have more agency in the learning process. Give assignments that match the diverse interests and learning preferences of the students. Encourage students to complete tasks at various levels of complexity to match their readiness level. Why differentiate at all? With so much emphasis on student-centered teaching, a one-size-fits-all approach cannot possibly be effective in modern classrooms. Planning for differences in our classrooms by offering options and varied structures and activities can boost students' motivation and achievement, which is what the goal of teaching programs should be.